guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is pretty much a how-to of how to use the selection tool on Photoshop. So if you noticed on my digital storyboard, my photo and my little flats, they have no background. It's just the item itself. So how I did that was using Photoshop and the selection tool. So I'm going to show you how I did it. Let's get started. Alright, so I am using Photoshop. This is the feature that I'm going to use to show you how to isolate your image. So basically, down here, this is what we're doing, or basically everything I've done up here. I took a picture of my illustration and I wanted to isolate it where it's by itself. And I did it with the illustration, I've done it with a flat, I did it with myself. So it's definitely possible to use this feature. It's not very difficult to use. And it may look deceiving, but it literally looks like this. Because right here looks like it has a white background, but the reality is when you save it, it's transparent. So it has nothing in the background. It's literally just the illustration or whatever you selected. And that's the feature we're using today. So if you want to use it for your digital storyboard, you definitely can. So let's get started. It's not too difficult. And to get started, you're going to either create new over here and drag in your photo, or literally, I would minimize a little, grab your file wherever it is and drag it in, and it will create a little photo project image right here. So I already have it uploaded. Click on it. So a few things before we get started. On your left are features, and good thing about Photoshop is that anytime you want to learn how to use a feature, it has these little tutorial videos that you can use so you can practice. So here, this is the one we're going to use today. If you wanted to get more hands-on practice, definitely go to the Learn How, and it walks you through the steps as well. But yeah, so I'm going to show you, but you can also use the Photoshop. They have little tutorial videos for every tool and item over here. Over here on your right are considered the essentials. So you can change it up if you want to just work on photography. This is some of the essentials you would use. I'm just using the basic essentials. So there's color swatches, gradients, and patterns. We're not going to use this today. We are going to use this one, but you don't need to do select. This is my own personal preference, but I am going to go to adjustments. And over here in this one helps you brighten up your image. So I am going to brighten it up just for my personal take. It takes a few seconds. There's also contrast. It's up to you if you want to do that. And that's all I'm doing. But this bottom right here is very essential. These are layers. So right away, anytime you use a feature on Photoshop, it pretty much creates a layer for you. So they're down here. And without it, see these eyes? If you click on it, it's no longer applied. And then you can also lock an image to make sure nothing happens to your image. You can also create a new layer if you need to, and then you can also rename it by clicking on it and then putting whatever title you want. I don't need to do that today because today we're just selecting the image and Photoshop's going to do it for you. So now we got that, we're going to use our selection tool. This is our selection tool. You're going to click on it. Really quick, this is where you need to look at. So the plus sign adds on. If you need to take away something, you use the minus sign. And I usually click on this one first just to get started. And then up here shows you the size. If you look on my screen really closely, there's a little circle. So you can make it really big if you need to. This is how you can get as big as 5,000. It's as big as the screen. We're not going to do that. And then you can also make it really small. So it just depends on your design. I'm going to do like an average because my image is not that big, but it's easy to do. But I will say one thing. If you're taking a picture of your image, you definitely want to outline it. Seeing how smooth this is going? See, there's a few hiccups. We're going to fix that. The more you outline, the more it's going to help. And I'm going to zoom in so you can see what I mean. So it's not really outlined down here, so it kind of selected its own. And that's okay, it happens. But we're going to go and now use the minus sign to make sure that it doesn't cut that out. I want it to be around the paper as much as possible. And you might have to change the size a bit to get it accurate. Now we're going to do the plus sign because we're adding back. If there's a like a little bubble right there, you just click on it to make it go away. And there it is selected. So now you're going to right click, and I always have to play around with this because I always get a little confused, but it's a quick fix. But you can select inverse. So inverse is just the image itself. And then you right click again and do a layer VI copy. All right, so now we have a new layer. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this off. And you see, now it's isolated. But I also wanna just give you a quick tip. Earlier, you didn't see it because I edited it out, but you have to make sure you're clicking on the right layer. So earlier, I had all of this up, and what happened was I was working on this layer. So when I selected it, let me take these off so you can see. So when I worked on this layer, my selection was over here, and it was nothing because I was working on the brightness. You got to be really, really careful that you're working on the right layer. It's a quick fix, but definitely be aware of that, because then it's going to look like that, which did nothing for me, and I needed it to look like this. So anytime you use a feature, also make sure you're working on the right layer. And by quickly doing that, all you have to see is click on the layer, and if it's highlighted, that means you're working on that particular layer. But that's it. That's all you have to do. And now that it's selected, all you do is go to File, Save As. You can, if you have a cloud or on the computer, I'm just going to do it on the computer. It is on my Catching the Waves. So this is also really a quick thing. You're going to, here it says Photoshop. You don't want to do that because that's a file itself. You want to make sure it's either a JPEG or a PNG for it to be a photo. I like PNG. That's my personal preference. You can select your size, and ta-da! So now my image is now right up. Ta-da! See? So it's a really quick tool. It's not very difficult. I guess you definitely want to make sure you select as much as possible, and if you can outline, that makes it a lot easier when selecting. When I did this one, this was very difficult to isolate because here it doesn't look like it was difficult, but it was, because the actual image right here it has a lot going on. So the more going on and grainy it is, the selection tool gets a little more difficult to figure out what exactly you're selecting. So definitely try to outline your image before doing the selection tool or scanning it in and working with it, because it will definitely take forever. This one took me like a good 15-20 minutes just to select the image. So think about that. Outline your image. That's my quick tip. But that's it. This is the end of this video. Hopefully you found it useful. And thanks for watching. And of course, if there's anything you want to learn more about, put in the comments below. Bye.